Hi there, folks. One of the great things about YouTube is the fact that it can create connections between people who come from very different backgrounds and very different places when they have something in common, and it can be something pretty obscure. And this is an example of one of those obscure things which I have in common with one of my friends on YouTube, one of my subscribers, and he is a gentleman from the Ukraine. And I'll put a link to his channel in the comments. You can go check out his channel. He's got some interesting shooting videos. Anyway, I got a private message from this gentleman the other day, and it was in response to one of my Margolin videos. And he made a comment that seeing the Margolin video brought back some memories of some of the shooting he used to do in a shooting club in his home country years ago, back in the I guess the late 1980s. He used to shoot the Margolin as well as some of the Ural target rifles. And he sent me a message, and he described some of the gear they used and some of the ammunition which they used to use. And one of the types of ammunition which he mentioned was this stuff here. And I immediately recognized it because I've had quite a bit of this stuff over the years. I bought a large quantity of it, probably, I don't know, 18-20 years ago. And he didn't think much of this ammunition, and I gotta agree with him. I don't think much of it either. It's usually marked, sometimes you'll see it marked Baikal on here. This stuff is not marked Baikal, but it's the same stuff. And it's called Junior. And as you can see, it says Sport Hunting 22 long rifle rimfire cartridges. And kind of comically on the side, it says these cartridges are designed for initial training in shooting and hunting. So in other words, don't inflict these upon anybody who's got any skill, because you'll just, kind of piss them off. Made in Russia. Older versions of this box would have said made in the USSR. And you can see the name of the company which made them, and I'm not going to try to pronounce that because I'll mess it up undoubtedly. And there's a lot number, and I would assume some kind of an acceptance code. And the usual warning on the bottom: steel cases, and dangerous within 1 mile, keep it of reach of children, non-corrosive. So let's have a look at the contents. And it's got a plastic tray, and as it says, there's 50 rounds. You can see they're kind of evil looking things. They're all black. These are steel cased ammunition, and they have a kind of it almost looks like a parkerized or a lacquer type finish on them, and the head stamp reads V, and the bullets are very heavily coated with grease or wax. Anyway, my YouTube friend, he commented on the fact that these cartridges gave them a lot of problems when he was in his rifle club, and that they often had to get a cleaning rod to poke these out of the chamber because they would not extract, and they'd stick bullets in the barrel, and the powder wouldn't burn because the primers didn't go off, and all that sort of thing. And that is basically a mirror to the image of my experience. I've had the same kind of problems. I came across this stuff, like I said, probably 18 to 20 years ago at a local gun shop, and I was down there one day looking through all the ammunition, and I spotted this stuff, and the proprietor immediately offered to sell it to me at a very good price, on the condition that I did not take it back. He said that I knew enough. If I bought it, it was my problem, basically. So he kind of gave me a warning, but it was only $11 a carton, so about $1.11 for one of these boxes. So being kind of cheap the way I am, I took him up on the offer, and I bought all the stuff he had in stock, which I'm not sure now how many I bought, but it was probably about 5 cartons of the stuff. Anyway, initially it worked not too bad. I was fairly happy with it initially. It worked okay. Occasionally you'd get one of these steel cases stuck in the chamber because they don't they swell out a little bit more than brass will, and they don't have the spring back that brass has. So the odd time you'd have problems with them extracting, but for the most part they were a good deal at first for the money that I paid for them. However, after a couple of years of storage, they went downhill quick, and I started to have a lot of problems with them. They would fail to fire, but worst of all were the ones that would fire but not quite with enough force to get the bullet to clear the barrel. So it was a pretty common experience to get a bullet stuck in the barrel. You'd have to get a cleaning rod. And in fact, anytime I took these to the range with me, I always brought one of those steel segmented military cleaning rods so I could poke the bullet out. I remember driving a considerable distance to the range one day, and I forgot to take my cleaning rod, and it was about the second shot I fired stuck a bullet in the barrel, and I had to drive all the way back home. I was not a happy camper that day. Anyway, I discontinued using them in rifles because after a while they got so bad that you just couldn't count on them. In a box you'd have maybe one or two of them stick in the barrel out of every box. The worst thing that these did to me was one day I was shooting a Ruger 1022, and I actually had one of these things, it fired and the bullet went most of the way up the barrel, and the cartridge case ejected, and another cartridge chambered behind it, and I hadn't caught the fact that there was no strike on the target, and I fired again and I put a ring in the barrel. So luckily it was a 1022, and there's loads of factory barrels around because people take those factory barrels off and replace them with target barrels. So I think I got another barrel for about $20 and replaced it, but I stopped using this stuff in rifles because it just became too much of a problem. And I shot almost, probably 2/3 of it. I ended up shooting it in my Ruger Mark II target pistol because it always seemed to have enough power to clear the 5.5-inch barrel of the pistol. Occasionally, we had a silhouette range with all the steel silhouettes of animals, and you'd be shooting at say the 50-yard targets, and you'd knock a few over, and then every now and again you'd get a shot that would land 20 feet in front of you. It had just enough force to clear the barrel, but not enough to make it to the target. So anyway, I finally used up the bulk of it, but I kept a few boxes of this stuff just as a bit of a keepsake. So his message kind of reminded me of it, so I went digging through my old ammo, and I thought I'd dig that out and share that with you in case somebody found it kind of interest. I think he might. And anyway, if you ever come across any of this, you know, if you want to buy a box for a collectible, fine, but I wouldn't recommend firing it. It's pretty crappy stuff. Anyway, so go check out his channel. He's got some good stuff on there. He's got some neat videos. He's got something that I wish I could have, which is a Saiga or a Sega 12-gauge shotgun. Can't have those here in Canada. They're bad and evil, so the government doesn't want us to have them. But anyway, he's got one, so I'm kind of jealous of that. But anyway, have a good weekend, everybody, and to all the folks in the USA who have a holiday coming up, I'll wish you an early happy Independence Day. So take care, guys. We'll talk to you later.